Hello, everyone. Welcome back. We're here for our next session, which is a success story of Shorooq partners. I'm super excited about it and curious to hear. I would like to remind you that wherever you're tuning in, Twitter, Facebook, YouTube, or LinkedIn, you can always send us your questions. And yeah, our wonderful guests will try to answer them. Um, so we'll have Shireen Abdelbaki going into conversation with Tamer Azer and Siddiq Farid. I'll leave it up to them to tell them who they are. I think it's part of the story. So yes, without further ado, enjoy.
Thank you, Amber. So we're live. I'm really honored to be moderating this session tonight, investment success stories. And we have with us tonight Shorooq Partners, represented by Tamer Azer, partner in Egypt. And one of their success stories, SmartCrowd, Siddiq Farid. And yeah, let's get started. Hi, Tamer. Hi, Siddiq.
Hey, Shireen.
So it's really a pleasure and an honor to be having Tamer Azer with us here on this panel, representing Shorooq Partners, a leading tech investor in emerging markets, with 39 companies and 5 exits, and managing a portfolio of over 100 million US. And that's so exciting. So my first question to you, before we even get started, what is the exciting moment for you?
Thank you, Shireen. I think we get really excited when we meet founders who share a similar vision to us, who really believe in what they're doing. At some point, it doesn't really matter what they're up to, as long as they're they have the right mindset for solving problems. And then when you find that connection, as an investor with a founder, and the founder finds it with you, it's a very exciting moment. And then everything else kind of you figure it out later. So it's always exciting meeting people like Siddiq, and then finding that sort of commonality and finding that sort of common ground that we can use to do something meaningful together.
That's an amazing answer, especially that your slogan or company motto is as company builders and value investors. So I'm sure you found a lot of value in connecting with SmartCrowd. And so let's say hello to Siddiq Farid of SmartCrowd. How are you?
Good evening. I'm doing well. Good evening. Pleasure to be here. Thanks for inviting me.
Why would I want to invest through SmartCrowd?
Oh, in the business or on the platform?
On the platform. Let's take it from that perspective first.
Sure, yeah. So just to give a bit of background on what SmartCrowd is, SmartCrowd is a digital real estate investment platform where we fractionalize real estate, enabling masses to access this great asset class that has historically been very difficult for many to participate in due to large capital requirements. So we make it very easy, hassle-free from the convenience of your device to invest as little as $100 and own a piece of property and generate returns from it. So that's in a nutshell what SmartCrowd does, and why would one should invest on SmartCrowd platform. It's very simple. Everyone should have a well-diversified investment portfolio. That's how the wealthy sort of preserve and accumulate their capital over time, where almost 30-40% of their wealth is tied up in alternative investments like private real estate. An average person does not have that capability to do so because they don't have large amounts of money. For many, it becomes a very concentrated part of their portfolio, owning a home, or worse, it becomes a very leveraged investment, which is also financially not very prudent. By fractionalizing it, what it does is, even with someone with $10,000 or $50,000 investable capital, can have appropriate allocation into real estate, such as investing 10-20% of their investable capital into real estate through a platform like SmartCrowd, leaving enough capital to continue investing in other asset classes such as stocks and bonds, and build a well-diversified portfolio that can stand through test of times. There's empirical evidence that demonstrates people that have alternative investments in their portfolio are able to generate better returns vis-a-vis the risk in the overall portfolio. So that's the reason you should invest in a SmartCrowd platform.
So Tamer, you already said that what excites you about new companies, the management and their values, and then what they're going to do with it. So what can you tell us more about your experience with SmartCrowd, and how can it expand also beyond the area that they're in already?
So SmartCrowd is in a very interesting space for me because I grew up in a country where most people had very limited options to invest their money, right? Real estate was very, very expensive. So you only had the opportunity to invest your money in these guaranteed investment certificates that were offered by publicly owned banks or government-owned banks, right? You get really high interest. That was it. That's all. The only option you had. And then you see companies like SmartCrowd giving people, specifically young people, access to alternative investment assets is a really, really interesting opportunity to start breaking into the property market for young people in a different way, sort of. So being able to capitalize on a booming market without having to expend the exorbitant amounts of money required for you to enter the property market, or for you to be leveraged, as Siddiq said, right? So this is a very, very unique opportunity to give people access to things they never had access to before, which is something that I really, really enjoy. Is you were creating a new market, right? You're almost creating a new market. You're creating a new opportunity that didn't exist previously, which is very different than sort of creating a platform that facilitates something or makes something easier. This creates a fundamentally new sort of way of investing. It's something super innovative that opens up opportunities for a lot of young people.
How is my money safe with SmartCrowd, Tamer?
I mean, Siddiq would probably be the best guy to answer that question.
Sure, yeah. So we're financially regulated, so that gives you a little bit more comfort and trust level. Second, you're investing in an asset, right? So your investment is backed by an asset. And our platform is very transparent, so you know exactly where your money is going and how you're making a return, which makes it very consistent with Sharia principles, even though we don't market ourselves as Sharia compliant platform and so forth. But you have very, very clear distinction as to where your money is going and how the returns are coming. To give you an example, on our platform, you get to decide where you're allocating your capital. So you can pick a property and know specifically where your money is going into which property and what are the return dynamics of that property. We have full paper trail in terms of your legal ownership. And that's very unique in our platform, where it gives you direct ownership, full legal recourse of your ownership for that fractional element of that property that you own. So that makes it very, very safe. And we deal with various stakeholders. So we have the financial regulator, as well as the local land department, two government entities, stakeholders that have full visibility on the ownership. For example, if you were to invest in a property, that information is registered with two separate entities, government entities, ensuring full protection for your investment. And the beauty of this, the thing is SmartCrowd. SmartCrowd is just a platform that enables this. We have zero ownership in that property. So you have zero exposure to the platform. So even if the platform, for whatever reason, stops operating, everything is completely ring-fenced, giving you even further protection from it, and only exposing you to real estate risk and none of the operational risk of the platform.
And is it easy to, is mobility easy? Is it easy to move your funds around, make changes over time?
Yeah, so it's very extremely easy for you to invest on the platform. It's simple, 5 clicks, and you can become a property owner and start building your real estate portfolio without having millions of dollars. We provide exit options. You have 2 exit options. One is a collective exit with everybody. You sell the property and everybody gets their capital back along with any capital returns, capital gains or capital losses. And the second option is in the secondary market on our platform. You can sell your shares to someone else. So if you have shares, you want to sell it to Tamer, you can do so on the platform and so forth. And that depends on the liquidity on the platform at any given point in time.
That's so dynamic.
So we get regular. We provide regular returns. We don't. The property does. We rent it out on a monthly basis. You get your returns. They're deposited into your digital wallet. You choose to reinvest that money, compound your investment, or you can withdraw that money, whatever you want to do with your money. So you have full control on it.
So Tamer, so with the 5 clicks, I'm sure it wasn't as easy to start. I'm sure there were challenges. But before I get to that question, so I can use that money and invest in NFTs?
So NFTs are going to come. There's lots of rules, and so we're fully regulated, financially regulated, right? And there's still a lot of ambiguity around regulations around NFT tokens, security tokens, utility tokens. But that sort of phase, that's Web 3.0, right? So we're on Web 2.0 at the moment, and we're working on our way towards Web 3.0. As the regulations are evolving, we always tend to stay ahead of the game, in the sense that, you know, SmartCrowd was the first of its kind in the entire region. Everything we've done is the first of its kind. There was no framework 2 years ago when we started this. We took a leap of faith because we thought we'd be creating a lot of value and we'll be able to convince the stakeholders, and we have been able to do that. And now we're working sort of on the 3.0 version of this, where a lot of work is happening in the background. And 2022 is going to be a very exciting year for us, where we're going to start incorporating a lot of emerging technologies part of our platform. NFTs could be one of those elements as well too, but it all depends and dictated based on what happens in the regulatory front as well too.
For sure. So coming back to you, Tamer, how do you see the not scalability but the expansion of such a platform and services in the region?
I mean, I think there's tremendous opportunity in this space across different asset classes. Young people want to invest more of their money. They're looking for more options. They're looking for more opportunities. And that's why some of our portfolio companies who are sort of targeting futures for and investments for young people have been doing well, like Sarwa, specifically also Smartcrowd. Giving young people access to financial services and access to investment opportunities is quite interesting. And as Siddiq mentioned, Web3 will open up a tremendous amount of opportunities for companies that already work with the collective, already work with the crowd. You know, when this whole thing, when people thought about collective ownership in the beginning of ownership, it was cooperatives, you know, and now we're thinking about different sort of structures where people can own fractional properties and fractional ownership of all sorts of things. And then the next thing will be sort of Web3, where you're getting democratized sort of autonomous organizations that are owned by people, that managed by people, that invest for people. And then you're just like, okay, well, this is a really, really cool opportunity.
Fantastic. And what would you highlight or underline as were the challenges in the beginning?
I mean, in the beginning, regulatory, as Siddiq mentioned, regulatory structures didn't exist, right? So when you're an investor and you're looking at an opportunity and you're like, okay, well, this is pretty groundbreaking. This is really cool. This is something that could go lots of interesting places. The first question you ask is, what about the regulation? Can you actually do what you're saying you're going to do, right? And then it's always a challenge, right? It's always tough. Sometimes in some areas, you really do have to do the famous thing where you sort of execute and ask for permission, right? Or you don't ask for permission, you ask for forgiveness. And then in another instance, you're pretty sure should ask for permission first, right? But in this instance, it was good to ask for forgiveness later. The frameworks kind of were put in place, and Smartcrowd did a fantastic job capitalizing on that opportunity.
So coming back to my previous question again about expansion in the region, do you have certain geographic spots, locations that you have in mind or look into, or how is it going to come about, in your opinion?
Yeah, so we look at our business from two fronts: supply and demand side, right? Supply is the real estate opportunities that we present on the platform, and demand side is the people that are actually putting money, funds onto the platform. So, you know, we focus very much on the demand side, and our demand side is Egypt to Bangladesh. That's our target market, right? Because we see a lot of big opportunity in this space, right? Younger demographics, growing middle class population, high connectivity of smartphones. And culturally speaking, a preference of investing in hard assets. So we want to be the go-to platform for anything that's alternative investments in this market. So our focus is very much in this market, and we are already looking to expand into these in the core market. So, you know, we started off our operations here in UAE. We're looking to enter Pakistan and Saudi next year, and eyeing Egypt sometime end of next year or sometime in 2023. It might get expedited depending on how things play out. But we're a small team. We don't want to spread ourselves too thin. But those are the markets that we're pretty much focusing on as our core market. Even though we're based in UAE, 15% of our user base is already non-UAE resident. We have a lot of people from the region investing on our platform from other GCC countries. But we also have people from all the way as far as Auckland, New Zealand, using our platform to invest in Dubai. Right? That's just amazing. You just think about that. Someone sitting in New Zealand, never traveled to Dubai, using his phone, and he's built a portfolio in Dubai, giving him a good 6-7% return yield, which he would never phantom of getting in his own country. And we have people from India doing the same thing. We have people from UK. We have a retired person in Italy using our platform to build a real estate portfolio here in Dubai. That's the power of a digital platform. It's truly borderless. So when you ask me about scale, the world is our oyster. I just get excited talking about it. So, keep me in check.
Yeah. Thank God for internet and mobile phones. So when we're looking forward to you coming to Egypt next. Don't wait too long.
We will be there soon.
I just wanted to remind our audience tuning in with us tonight, if you have questions to our speakers on the panel, please just send them in, and we'll be happy to share and discuss them. So coming back to you, Tamer Azer of Shorooq Partners, we're very happy that you're showcasing SmartCrowd, but I want to know more and pick your brain a bit about your experience. You said, sometimes you look for, when you have a hot investment, you look for the regulation first, but sometimes you wait for that and it comes naturally later. What other the word challenges, but what other questions or what other points of advice would you like to share about your experience with SmartCrowd to the audience and startups in general? And, we have a lot of different people in the audience tonight, so we'd like to have more about your experience.
Yeah, I think every opportunity is different, right? Every opportunity is different when you're looking at opportunities, or you're looking at sort of companies and founders. It's as I grow older and as I do more and more investments, I realize that it's not really a constant, right? Every opportunity and every conversation has lots of moving pieces, and every opportunity has a compromise, right? The catch is to understand what that compromise is very early on and know that you are solving for it, right? So when you're looking at innovative, sort of ahead of their time kind of opportunities like SmartCrowd, you're solving for a problem that a lot of people don't really sort of see and haven't built for a regulatory framework for, right? So we know that that's what we're going to solve for. That's the risk we're taking together, right? So we know that that's what we're backing and that's what we're investing for, that we are betting that this will be solved and that this will not be an issue, right? So in every opportunity, you have to know what is the thing that you are what is your key critical risk that you are investing for, right? If you're investing in an AI that will deliver on speech-to-speech conversation like Siri, that's what your compromise is that can that AI read, understand, and respond, right? So every time you take a leap of faith, you're taking a leap of faith, and there's usually like a really critical point that you're trying to solve for. Once you know what that is, you understand the level of risk that you're taking, right? And when you understand the level of risk that you're taking, then you can make informed decisions based on everything else. So that's usually the first question I try to answer. And then I start sort of thinking with the founder about it, how it's going to play out. And that's the seed where the conversation starts and grows. And that's how we eventually find the common ground to invest and the common ground to work together.
So I guess for each case, it's a different, of course, it's a different story, but also a different type of or requirement of research involved, investigation, different path, and especially if it's a groundbreaking new, then you're doing it all from scratch anyway.
And it's all about the relationship, right? Like maybe Siddiq can pitch in and tell us a little bit more about his perspective. He must have talked to a lot of investors, right? It's important to find that relationship sort of connection and link. And I think that sort of creates the foundation, which everything then becomes a conversation and a give and take until you find the right sort of formula.
Yeah, no, I would echo that, right? Especially if you look at Shorooq partners, for example, right? At the stage that they invest in, early stage, seed, pre-seed, Series A. At that point, there's lots of question marks around business model, and so forth. So Tamer is very right. It comes down to personal relationship. Are these the right people to back? Are they the ones that are going to crack it? Are they fully committed? Are they doing it for the right reasons? Do they have the right mentality around it? Because when you're doing something new, innovative, in the sense that it hasn't been done in the region, there's no framework and so forth. There's no blueprint, right? There isn't a process where, hey, listen, these people have done it in XYZ. Let me copy paste it over here and make it work. It's very difficult. There's very unknowns. When we started, and in Shorooq, they backed us very, very early on, even before we had our testing license, for example. It was at that time, it was more so what we were passionate about, what we saw as an opportunity, and we presented, and Shorooq believed that we were the right team to back. That these guys are the ones going to figure this out, because they truly believe in the value that they're about to create. And it's challenging in many ways, right? Because being the first ones, there's lots of pros and cons into that, right? Because you're being the first one to do it, but you're also setting a pathway for others to follow and replicate what you've done and do it in a shorter period of time, etc. Because you've already paved the way for other people to do. But the amount of learnings that come out of it and the credibility you build in doing so is also quite valuable. And early on, it's all about those kinds of personal relationship and that kind of belief factor. To make it happen.
So
Yeah, exactly.
As much
by, go
sorry,
ahead.
keep going.
No, it's a matter of those relationships, but it has to be backed by fundamental research and data behind it. Yes, there's an opportunity to do so, and if you're able to crack it, you have a big opportunity that you can take advantage of. And one thing you can't control is the timing of these things, right? Because especially when because we were dealing with people's hard-earned money, it was very important for us to ask for permission first, and then rather than ask for forgiveness later. Because when it comes to people's money, you don't get many chances of building that trust. When we first started, I'll give you an example, right? This is back in 2018, right? I'm embarrassed to say how small our seed round was compared to what the market is now. But you as a ambitious, optimistic entrepreneur think you're going to take over the world in 6 months. You'll have your license, and SmartCrowd is going to be this massive. And then 6 months later, you're still scratching your head with the regulators and like, hold on, where's my license, man? Can we get going on this, right? Because not everybody moves at your pace, etc. So you don't, and those are things out of your control. There's certain things that are within your control that you can control and make a success out of it. There's certain things that are out of your control. And it's very important, in my advice to other entrepreneurs that are listening to this, other people that are inspiring to be entrepreneurs, is always be prepared for the worst, right? Hope for the best, but prepare for the worst, because there's certain things that are out of your control. And that
brings me to this question, because as optimistic as I like to be, and I'm known to be a positivity person, there must have been one point where you found it the most difficult point for you, where you decided, you were almost going to decide, I can't go on, but I have to go on. What's that point?
Yeah, alhamdulillah, I haven't felt that moment yet, right?
That's
So
fantastic.
I haven't had a moment yet. Obviously, listen, in a startup world, there's lots of ups and downs, right? There's days when you're on cloud 9, you want to get on top of Burj Khalifa and yell to the world, and there's days you want to go under a rock and sort of hide yourself or cry yourself to sleep. But that doesn't mean that you're giving up and so forth. Alhamdulillah, we haven't come across. There's been a lot of challenges, of course, right? Building a business, a unique business, a first of its kind, it's not easy, right? It takes a lot of courage. It takes a lot of luck and a lot of hard work. And there's a lot of elements that were lucky for us. But we haven't come across a point where like, oh my God, like, we can't continue on anymore, because the opportunity is massive, right? Like real estate in itself, is the largest investable asset class in the world. when we first started, we have a very long-term team that we're going after, right? And we're very, very, very early in that process, right? Because for many people, don't look at real estate as investment first, right? A lot of people think of real estate as a home they want to live in, and they look at it from that investment point of view. They don't look at real estate the same way they look at stocks or bonds or crypto, etc. They look at real estate as a very boring asset and so forth. But that will change as home ownership continues to deteriorate all over the world because of lack of affordability. More renters in the market. It's a very attractive investment product. If you look at all the smart money, big asset managers in the world, they've been buying up family homes by the droves over the last decade. That hasn't come down to the retail level. Once that mindset changes, guess what? SmartCrowd is going to be there to take advantage of that opportunity. So we're very, very early in that thinking. Second, financial literacy is also extremely at low levels, right? But that is changing. People are taking more attention to basic human financial home economics to understand the importance of saving, not only saving but investing that money in a appropriate manner. So when all those stars align, platforms like ourselves will be there to reap rewards of that
You'll be ready.
understanding.
You'll be ready to take on the storm. So you mentioned three critical things: courage, luck, and hard work. That's your formula. And
So I preach three P's, right? I preach three P's of entrepreneurship, right? One is purpose. You need to know why you're doing what you're doing, right? Without that, it's all lost, right? You cannot measure success by money alone. So purpose is key. Passion is absolutely necessary for you to keep going because there's going to be a lot of roadblocks and you're going to get knocked down many times. You need to pick yourself up, and passion ensures that you get yourself up and keep going. And the third and the most important one is patience. Sabr. It's the most important thing. I guarantee you. I'm a very patient person. Entrepreneurship taught me even more patience because, like I said earlier, there are a lot of things that are out of your control. And if you don't have patience, you're going to trip many times over. So you need to have patience. Patience is key. A lot of people, especially in this instant gratification world that we live in, right? Like even now, right? I would like to know how many people are watching this, what kind of feedback I'm getting, because we want instant gratification. But no, sabr. Patience is very, very important.
You're going to fit in just fine in Cairo.
You have three P's for your prescription. What about Shorooq partners, Tamer? What is the formula for you in selecting and supporting a startup? You said in the beginning, but
I have my own I have my own thing, right? I always look for people who work with intention. It doesn't necessarily mean sort of intentionality, because بالعربي بالقصد, right? So people who do things with intention, right? So they're not sort of just doing something and then being super reactive, and no, but I'm doing something. It's the scientific method of approaching life, right? When I do something, I have hypothesis, and then I go out and I prove or disprove it, right? So you say, okay, I want to build this thing, then I go out and I build it to see if I'm right or wrong. And within every decision you're taking within the company every day, you have a hypothesis. Say, okay, if I increase, if I increase my marketing spend and target this number of people, this is going to affect my company in this way. Not just saying, oh, I have to increase marketing to grow, right? So you come out, you make a hypothesis about what it is that you're doing, and then you're always trying to prove and disprove yourself right or wrong. And that's how you can continue to build and grow, right? So intention is extremely, extremely important because it's the only real way to learn, right? And if you don't learn, you don't acquire cumulative knowledge intentionally. You might acquire it slowly, it comes into your mind, but you don't actually know where it is or how to withdraw from the bank of knowledge, right? But when you do it with intention, then you're like, okay, I learned that thing. I know exactly how to do it better next time. That's a critical point to people being able to scale companies, is that they actually build the library, right, that has the repository of information that they've acquired over time, and that library continues to grow and they continue to build on it. That's the only real way to grow, both as a human being, as a company, whatever it is, right? You just have an intention in everything that you do, and you go out to prove it right or wrong, and then you learn from it, and then you do another scientific experiment. That's how the scientific method works.
That's super. I think we have a question coming in, Tamer and Siddiq, from Mohammed. The question is to Siddiq, what did you learn from your users when it comes to investing in real estate projects? So from a user perspective, some feedback.
Yeah, it's an interesting question, right? Every user is quite different. Everyone invests for different reasons with a different mindset. But if I were to sum it down in terms of what some of the learnings that we have had from our users, one is people's. I'm going to be very generic in the sense that I don't want to. I hope my users don't get offended by this, but overall, people have very limited understanding of risk versus reward, and it's a big challenge for platforms like ourselves to overcome, right? Because any investment platform, right? Because education is key. Because of lack of financial literacy, because when we look at our product, any of our content, what we do, we never, never, ever try to sell SmartCrowd. We try to educate people to help them understand the importance of savings and investing. Once they understand that, the product in itself makes sense, right? Because it's so logical. It's like, okay, I now understand what's the importance of saving, why I should be investing, and how I should be investing. It was like, wow, a SmartCrowd is a no-brainer, right? So that's our focus. But it's a slow burn, right? Because it takes a long time to educate people, to get people to think about it. And that's what we found from our users. The ones that are educated understand that, they're instant believers, and they love the platform, and they're constant users, right? We have a very high reinvestment rate. 65% of user base are multiple investors. Average person has 4 investments on our platform, and they continue to invest, right? These are the people that get it. People that don't get it, it's a long conversion cycle. It takes time, right? So, if I were to say what I've learned from the investors, from the users, is understanding that risk reward, right? Because people look at superficial KPIs or numbers, right? So, for example, people tend to invest in the highest yielding asset automatically without understanding the risk and reward, right? So, if we present 2 opportunities on our platform, one is giving a 9% return and one is giving a 6% yield, people will just invest in 9% because they think that's better, without understanding why something is 9% vis-a-vis why something is 6% return, right? It's no different than you investing in a government-backed safety long-term deposit, what Tamer was talking about, or going and investing in Bitcoin. Yeah, Bitcoin is going to give you a higher return vis-a-vis that fixed income deposit, but the risk in that Bitcoin going to zero is a lot higher than the government-backed note that's going to go to zero. So having that understanding, and I think that was the biggest rude awakening, because I come from a finance background. I just think it's common sense. Everyone should know the risk versus reward. But I'd be surprised how many people lack those fundamental knowledge. So that's that was one of the key findings early on in our journey and then that's allowed us to focus more on creating content to educate people, and that in itself sells the product.
So you said already you're 5 clicks away from making a breakthrough in a new investment field. What are the essentials to get started on your platform, just in case somebody's not aware yet about it?
We're regulated. You can go onto our website, smartcrowd.ae. It's just like opening up a bank account. You need to satisfy our KYC AML requirements, which means you need to provide a proof of identity and a proof of residence. Once we have that, depending on the information provided, you get approved and you get access to our marketplace, and you can get started.
So proof of residence where you are, but not necessarily where you're incorporated, right? So I mean, I can be investing in the region where you are, but not necessarily living there. Like you said, Italy.
Correct. Correct. Yeah. So you could be living anywhere as long as you're not living in a sanctioned country. It's fine. And then obviously there's risk ratings for different countries. So depending on the country, the risk rating, we might need to do some enhanced due diligence. But that's very much risk-based approach that we apply based on your profession, et cetera, and so forth. So it depends. But anyone from anywhere can use our platform, which is the case today as well too.
So I know you've already been through a lot of the details about your process, but let me ask you again, just to clarify, in case someone wasn't with us from the start of our talk, the areas, or not the instruments, but the areas that you're investing in are varied, or like if you choose a certain sector, you have to stick to that, or you can mix and match, or how does it work? Is it retail
So
only?
at present, we're only focusing on Dubai real estate, for example.
Yeah, but
So
what in the real estate?
yeah. So within Dubai real estate, so what we have on offer, you get to pick and decide where you want to invest and how much you want to invest. You can invest as little as 500 dirhams, approximately $100, $120 and change. And we have different investment strategies or themes rather, right? So you will have a property in sort of a nice touristy area to operate as a holiday home. You can invest in that. You can invest in affordable areas in Dubai, which are more focused on long term. We allow you to invest in other populous areas where we operate them as service apartments. There's different strategies depending on your risk appetite and what kind of returns you're looking for. Are you more focused on income generation? Are you looking for more of a balance, whereas income and capital appreciation? Or you're just interested in investing in prime real estate where your focus is more on the capital appreciation rather than income? So you have that ability. We provide all the information very in a transparent manner on the platform, and you get to decide where you want to do. And once you make that investment, then that asset, real estate is a long-term hold, right? So you have invested that money into that property over a long period of time to generate the returns from that property. But given the fact that the minimum investment is very low, you have the ability to diversify and build a portfolio. So you don't have to constantly move things around and so forth. So you can put 500 dirhams in one, 1,000 dirhams in another property, etc. And over time, build a portfolio, right? So the way you should look at it is like, listen, I want to allocate X amount of dollars in Dubai real estate over the next 12 months, right? And what is my strategy? And then based on that, you allocate your money accordingly as the opportunities come. And the beauty of it is when the returns start coming in, you can take those returns and reinvest on the platform.
Again.
So
And you also have commercial spaces, or
no, so in Dubai, we only focus on residential real estate at the moment because that's where there's a lot of liquidity in the market. It's a very fast-moving product, and the returns are very attractive in the residential space vis-a-vis the commercial space. So our focus is very much on the residential market in Dubai at the moment.
Okay. So, guys, I think we've had a really fascinating discussion tonight, shedding light on one of the most exciting opportunities with Shorooq partners. And really, I'm sure a lot of people are going to be interested in your platform. We're running out of time, unfortunately, as good times pass quickly. If both of you would like to, share any advice or tips or hints or your experience, what you'd like in the last few minutes before we leave.
Sure. I would mostly encourage any founders who are watching to reach out to us. You can reach out to Shorooq via deals@shorooq.ae. We're always excited to hear from you guys. We're always interested to learn what you're up to, and we do our best to be as engaged and as supportive as possible. So please do reach out to us whenever you get a chance.
Thank you, Tamer.
Yeah, listen, I think I've said a few things in this talk. Feel free to reach out. Happy to have any one-on-one conversation with anyone. But in general, for any entrepreneurs there, inspiring entrepreneurs, like I said, hope for the best, plan for the worst. Raise as much money as possible as you can when you can. You can never have enough cash in the bank. It gives you a lot more leverage and allows you to make mistakes. All the things that Tamer talked about, having that very scientific way of testing your hypothesis. You need to have money to be able to experiment those things till you get things right. And then you can sort of plow more money onto that. For you to be able to do that, you need to have money in the bank to allow to do that. So, investors like Shorooq Partners are very supportive of that. So you need supporters to back you to be able to find that fit to really scale your products and operations. So that's what I would do. And don't forget the 3 Ps of entrepreneurship. You can hashtag it. Become I want this to go viral. I want this to go viral.
Thank you, Siddiq, Farid of Smartcrowd. It was an amazing conversation with you and learning a lot about your services and instruments. And I'm looking forward to seeing you expand in more areas of the region and more sectors of the real estate market. And we're very happy to have had Shorooq partners and Tamer Azer representing you. Amazing conversation. And thank you, Vested Summit, and the amazing team for bringing on exceptional ideas and speakers. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you,
Thank you,
Amber.
Shane. Thank you, Siddiq.
Thank you. Thank you very much, guys.
Many thanks for this very interesting session. I've learned a lot about SmartCrowd. I also, while listening, took a look at the website and it looks super welcoming. So yeah, have a look too. This was the last session for me to introduce, or the next session sounds like a lot of fun, and MC introduce it to you in it. It's about the future of memes and how to monetize them. So that sounds super interesting. Before I leave, I'd like to remind you about the discount for value. That's a special discount for all who's watching, of 20%, and value for those who haven't heard yet. It's a magazine, a one-off publication, actually an exploration of new economies. So I think it's very much aligned with the topics that are discussed at this summit. And there's also an article by Melody about conscious tech, but there's much more. You can also read about it at companynewheroes.com. For now, I wish you a lot of fun with the rest of the day, and I'll be back with you tomorrow. Many thanks.